But what's most important here, though, is the way that the European mind viewed the universe and the effect that clockwork had on it.
Currently in Los Angeles, and has been and is spreading beyond Los Angeles, actually, there have been quite large anti-immigration protests, which of course have become violent and have been revealing about the nature of the fracture between the American people and the state and the people who have immigrated to America, not just in recent years, but in previous eras, and the way that they think of themselves in relation to the rest of the United States. And I think it's really one of those things that the Americans have to get a handle on, and honestly, with quite a lot of legal force. This has to be essentially put to bed as a paradigm, that there is such a thing as a hyphenated American, really, is what it ends up coming down to. Because the American social contract is predicated on believing a series of ideas and deliberately and consciously incorporating yourself into that society. And America is actually very well set up for this, unlike the old world, which is not like that at all. But it's being undermined in the United States, and that is not good. And if that is allowed to continue, well, who knows what the end is. Anyway, before we begin, I finished and have published my amazing documentary, The Death of Man. Now, I don't mean to blow my own horn, but I did an unbelievable amount of work on this, charting the progress of the Enlightenment and what the likely consequences are of rendering the universe as merely something mechanical that is made of clockwork and not ordained by God. Now, I myself am an atheist, so you might say, well, but you don't believe in that. Okay, fine, I'm a product of modernity as much as everyone else. But the point is there may well be predictable consequences of this, which lead us down quite a dark path to the end of what we consider a man to be. So anyway, that's on lotus.com now. Go sign up, £5 a month, go watch it, and leave a comment and tell me what you think, because there's no definite end to the line of thought I've laid out there. It's something that it's a work. The world is a work in progress, and I don't think it's good news, frankly. But anyway,
well, we're seeing it in live real.
We are, yeah.
Much of what you're talking about in that video and the way that you've set out the analysis are amongst the topics that we almost talk about every day on this channel.
Yeah,
and our commentators who come on it.
Yeah,
they're all symptoms of the larger.
Exactly, and I think I've done a fairly good job of explaining the problem with the paradigm that we're in. But anyway, let's begin. So yeah, as Andy No pointed out, last night was the fourth night of far-left Mexican insurrection in Los Angeles, and I think that's a completely accurate way of characterizing it. It is absolutely a Mexican insurrection in Los Angeles, and the Mexican nationalists are very happy to tell you that themselves. It's been violent, it's been up in the air, but I'm not going to go into that. You can find that elsewhere. What I'm interested in is the sort of meta politics of the situation, what's happening around and what's really driving this. So, for example, you had Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, who came out in response on the first night and said that she wished to, quote, mobilize against whatever it was that the United States government was going to do to try and prevent, as her complaint begins with, 3.5% tax on remittances. So anyone who doesn't know what a remittance is, this is when Mexicans in America send money home. Mm-hmm. Not very American, is it? Like, do Americans normally just send money out of their own pockets to foreign countries? Usually their governments have to do that for them.
Well, their argument is we're paying for our families, we're giving it to schools, all the rest of it.
Well, that's exactly it.
Exactly.
But it's like, right, so you are here as a metic. You are here as a foreign worker, not as an American, right? So you shouldn't really have American citizenship. It's fine, like in ancient Athens, to have a class of metics who are foreigners who come in and work and then do whatever they want with their money, because that's what a metic is. But they're not politically enfranchised.
No, it speaks to an entirely extractive view of what America is. It's just something to extract resources from.
Yeah, and as one Republican senator said, we're not the world's piggy bank, actually, and we don't take kindly to threats. But this is the issue, because Mexican remittances from America to Mexico is something like $64 billion a year. That is a lot of money leaving the United States to go to what is almost turning into a parasitic southern neighbor. But the thing I found most interesting about this is the way that she characterized it, right? She said, quote, "We don't want taxes on remittances from our fellow countrymen."
Yes, I noticed that. It was very, very strong. It's our fellow countrymen. People have gone over to there. Don't forget, crossed the border, claiming their right for asylum to be able to become American citizens. But she demands that they're still Mexicans, still Guatemalans, still whatever they are, and therefore they could be able to send money back. I mean, I always had an issue with the remittances culture because we obviously have a huge amount here. And actually, when you're trying to do the research, even through the UN details, it's incredibly difficult to get accurate numbers from the World Bank. There's assessments, assumptions, but no one seems to really know what the true numbers are. And I think as your Republican commentator in there, or the senator, he was actually also indicating the connection to drug cartels as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, she's going to have some deal with the cartels, or else, like something like 35 Mexican politicians were shot in the run-up to the latest elections. So Mexico is not a
Well, there are allegations she and the previous president were
no
both
doubt
connected. I mean, I don't know the full stories of those.
No, but
those
when you have 35 people shot running for office, like I think it's safe to say anyone who makes it through that hailstorm has got some sort of deal with them. But the point being, for her, there is an ethnic particularity and connection here. She says, no, they are our fellow countrymen. They are colonists in America, and they are making money in America and then sending it home to Mexico. And the Mexican economy, $65 billion, that's not a small amount of money. So they don't want that to be reduced. And so you've got, this is in response to the president of the Mexican Senate, that Eric Schmidt, because of course the president of the Mexican Senate, there doesn't seem to be any opposition I've seen coming out of Mexico to the idea of remittances, but why would there be?
No.
It's entirely in all of their interests. And they're not happy. And when you think about it, 3.5%, that's really not really a very,
I was
very
just
great
doing
amount of money.
A quick calculation about 1.2 billion of the 64.
Yeah. It's really not very much.
It's not very much at all. But
you're sending $100 back to Mexico, they get $96.5.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I would expect fewer than that on just transaction fees.
Yep.
Like I'm probably getting screwed like that whenever I make a card payment. So that's not really a very high amount. And yet this has got them all in a tizzy. And so good on Eric Schmidt here being like, yesterday at a press conference, he laughed at the idea. Guess what? The remittance tax just got 5% higher. It should just be 100%, right? Don't allow it. No, don't allow it.
Give them no incentive to do it whatsoever.
Absolutely none. And lots of Mexicans will willingly leave, right? But the thing is, so you've got this conflict going between the US government and the Mexican government over the Mexican government's understanding of their citizens as essentially colonists in the United States sending money back. And then the sort of lefty types decided to chime in and try to make moral arguments as to why the Mexicans should be able to do this. And this is where things, I think, really start to get interesting. You have someone like Katy Perry, right? Now, Katy Perry, not very important, but she does have millions of followers, and she'll say stupid things to millions of people, and so you do have to kind of debunk them. So, Los Angeles, a place that literally begun as El Pueblo de Nuestra Sonora La Reina de Los Angeles. All right, whatever. Right, founded by Mexican settlers in 1781. Okay, hang on a second. Mexico didn't exist in 1781. Yeah. It was a province of the Spanish Empire, right? This was once Mexican land, for about 30 years in the early 1800s, right? The people being targeted today are often descendants of those who lived here for generations or who came seeking safety, work, and dignity. Okay, so what?
Could you not have stayed in space?
Unfortunately,
the air's got to her a little bit, to be honest, isn't
unfortunately, deporting people to Mars is not yet something Elon Musk has figured out. Get on that, Elon. Stop beefing with Trump and let's deport these people to Mars. Anyway, so, I mean, you can just look this up. The founding of Los Angeles is not in any way a mystery hidden from the light of history or anything like that. It was originally done in 1781 by, and we know exactly who it was. There were 44 settlers, some of them from Mexico, others who were Spanish, go over, set up a small town, and in 1821, I think it was, Mexico got its independence, and by 1835 it was declared a city, and then it was lost to the United States by 1850 because the Mexican-American War was lost by Mexico. Because Mexico isn't really a proper state, frankly, and it wasn't capable of mustering a proper army. And so Mexico owned Los Angeles for a grand total of about 30 years. Mm-hmm. The United States has owned owned Los Angeles for 170 years, and the Mexicans themselves were colonists.
Yes.
Right? Los Angeles is a long way away from Mexico, actually, if you look at it on a map. The Mexicans are not indigenous to Los Angeles. This was a Spanish colony that took some Mexicans from the center of America to the West Coast. So I'm not in any way having this, they had it first, they're the indigenous, but no, they're not.
Yeah, but hang on, if we had it first in England,
well,
it doesn't apply to us.
No.
No.
But this is the general theme that you get from all of the activism around it. But it's also the general theme that you get from the Mexicans themselves. They don't consider themselves to be Mexicans. Let's watch this. Americans. Let's watch this.
What is the best country in the world?
The best country in the world right now? Mexico.
Do you identify as an American?
I'm a Mexican American. That's what they labeled me as, so I'm Mexican first.
So deportation is not so bad.
It's not so bad. We just go on vacation. 1 week, we'll be back.
This is not just an America soil. No, this is indigenous soil. This is everybody's soil.
We were here first.
Everybody. Okay,
Our ancestors were here first. Why should we have to leave?
Vivimos en este país y queremos estar en este país y más aún vamos a seguir en este país.
All the Latin countries are amazing.
All the Latin countries are amazing?
Yeah.
So then why do they want to be here then? Well, no, deportation means you stay there for good, you don't come back.
I don't think that happens. I'll be right back.
Right. So as you can see from the people protesting, they have a colonialist mindset.
Yes.
No, we have somehow been allowed to live here. Why should we leave? Well, the answer is you lost a war, and Mexico is not the administrative body that governs California. It's actually the United States government, and if they're going to make you leave, then they're going to make you leave. And if you don't like it, well, arm yourselves up and see how it goes, right? Yep. And this is why Mexico talking tough to the United States. It's like, what do you think you're going to do? You don't have control of large portions of your country. You're not going to do anything to the United States government. And to be honest with you, if I were Trump, I'd just annex a bit of Mexico. I'm not even joking. I would literally just send 2,000 guys down, choose a border town, and say, right, this is American territory now. Now what? What now? I would literally be upping the ante and just telling them to screw themselves.
Also, the caliber of colonist is not exactly the same, is it? You think about where the true wealth of California came from with the gold rush in the middle of the 1800s and these prospectors, these incredible industrial men who, whereas South America never really seemed to be able to get itself, it was always volatile, always constantly falling in on itself.
It also, California and the desert leading up to it, as well as the area that's now Texas, was basically unpopulated, right? When the Mexican government first invited Anglo settlers to go to Texas, there were 7,000 people occupying that entire territory.
Right.
So that is basically empty.
I'm quite liking this idea. I mean, obviously Trump has renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of Texas. So
Gulf of America.
Gulf of America. So why don't you just take over Mexico and just call it Trumpico or something?
Maybe
like
if
that,
he wants, just do anything, because these people are not
clearly don't want to be there,
and they're not respectful.
Apart from money,
right? They're not respectful. Like, I mean, look at this one.
This is our city, and this was Mexico. You can't kick us out of the land that was ours.
We still...
Yeah, we can, actually. Like, this is what men with guns do. This is all history. Like, we absolutely can, but notice this. Right, this is ours, not yours. We are not you. We are not Americans. We are Mexicans, and we're unhappy that you colonized us. And you might be like, okay, well, this theme, you say, okay, it's just the activists, it's just protesters, it's just people online. This surely isn't really that much.
Are they really being serious about that?
Yeah, because here's the president of the Mexico Senate saying, yeah, we're going to build a wall and we are going to pay for it, but look at the wall that he wants. He wants a return to the 1830 borders. It's not just ridiculous activists on the floor. It is also the elected politicians in Mexico.
So they do like borders. They're just questioning where the border actually lies.
Yeah, they just don't like your borders. Because your borders contain wealth. And Mexico's borders contain trouble. And what they would actually like is access to your wealth by exporting their people into your land so they can recolonize it for the future.
And bringing you their trouble.
Yeah, exactly. But look at what he's saying here.
We're all in trouble if Italy and Maloney then decide that they want to reenact their borders.
Thankfully, they're never going to be able to do that. Same reasons that Mexicans can't. But anyway, you see this. We'll do it according to the 1830 map of Mexico. Mexicans were settled in these territories before the US. Mexicans living there are in what has always been their homeland. Okay, so we have ethnic claims to from an irredentist Mexican government that completely coheres with what the activists themselves also believe. They are not Americans, they are Mexicans. So now what are you going to do about that? Trump is not having it, right? Let's watch a little bit of this speech. And Trump is absolutely right in this speech.
The agitators are throwing firebombs and Molotov cocktails, lighting vehicles ablaze. You saw the cars that were burning, mobbing police officers and ICE officers who are the toughest people you'll ever meet, and they love our country, and they're getting really they want to stomp on them, but they're too tough. They don't allow it. And attempting to infiltrate and occupy federal buildings wearing armor and face shields. The best money can buy, somebody's financing it. We're going to find out through Pam Bondi and Department of Justice who it is. They're already on it. Who's financing all this equipment? Very professional. Under the Trump administration, this anarchy will not stand. We will not allow federal agents to be attacked, and we will not allow an American city to be invaded and conquered by a foreign enemy. And that's
right. That is correct. They call themselves foreign. They have literally explicitly, and again, it's the activists, it's the people online, it's the government, have literally explicitly said, these are our countrymen, this is our territory, and as part of the demographic wave that we are happy to send into your country, we are going to take it back. We want our old borders back. Okay, Trump recognizes it as an invasion, and it's correct. This is what is happening. And the average sort of lib who's just like, but what about individual human rights? What about the... No. This is not what's happening. What's happening here is on a much more human level of the way that politics works. It is the collective ego of the two sides of people, and Trump is the kind of politician who can sense the collective ego of America. Many politicians can't do that for some reason these days, but the Mexican president can, the president of the Mexican Senate can, and Donald Trump can. So he's like, no, we're not having this foreign invasion. We are going to liberate Los Angeles. And good for them. So Trump has indeed sent national troops, the National Guard, to Los Angeles. Newsom has been squealing about this like a stuck pig, but he's not really been able to do anything about it. I mean, the media's being like, oh, I can't get that for some reason. Is it because we're in Europe or something like this? Okay, so what this ABC News article said is that there are 4,800 activated Guard and Marine personnel in LA compared to the 2,500 troops in Iraq and 1,500 in Syria. Good.
Well, why would that matter? If you've got an insurrection by people who are claiming that they're Mexicans and that this is Mexico's land, which is exactly the same as somebody going into a different country and coming over here like Germany and saying, Britain is German because the Angles came from us first and we want it back, Mr. Hitler. We're quite happy to put our own military on our own borders and repel them. So the idea that just because they happen to have come over, claimed asylum, doesn't change the fact if they're saying that they're Mexican and it's a Mexican country.
If they're literally acting at the behest of their own governments as well, sorry, this is not just a series of individuals who are given, for some reason given asylum or let legally to allow in the country. These are people who collectively understand themselves to be operating on behalf of a foreign state. And they're demanding the Americans cede territory to this foreign state. And their government accepts, they should be ceding foreign territory to our state. They should be giving us their money.
What was he actually claiming here in this video? Was he saying that, he wants all that land in America all up to those borders?
Yeah, I mean, he's just tough talking. He's not going to enforce it or anything like that. But this is unacceptable and totally disrespectful to the Americans.
And the fact that you've got people as high up as Gavin Newsom siding with them basically has an entire state in rebellion.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, at the moment, California is filing lawsuits against Trump of his unlawful deployment. But really, this is not about something that can be settled by the law. This is about something that has to be settled by sentiment, right? It is not acceptable to have presumably millions of Mexicans in the United States, particularly in California, who are like, no, we're going to flip this territory for Mexico.
Are we seeing any of the kind of influencers like, Charlie Kirk or others that are behind the kind of Trump philosophy being able to promulgate this idea that Trump should be saying that if you are actually Mexican, claiming that you're Mexican, this is Mexican land, you have no right to be here? Are we seeing that at all? Is there any push in that?
I haven't seen anyone say explicitly that, but you can see there's a much more nativist direction in which the American MAGA. I mean, one of the thing that I've seen from a few of them is we should stop accepting third world immigrants.
Yeah, so that's what I saw. Charlie Kirk, Matt Walsh.
Yeah, Matt Walsh. Yeah, all the sort of like conservative Inc. sort of types, and that is a good start.
But they're not pushing.
But it's far too late for them. There are millions of Mexicans in Los Angeles and various other places who aren't Americans, don't think they're Americans, and actually Viva la Mexico, right? And you've got the sort of like brainlet conservative take of, why are they protesting about being deported to a place they love? No, they're imperialists. They want your territory. That's why they're there, to claim the territory. And they will just tell you this when you ask them, right? So anyway, there's going to be a legal action over it. And Gavin Newsom, like I said, he's been squealing like an absolute pig over this. Oh, Donald Trump's acting like a dictator. Come and arrest me. And it's like, look, man, you have a genuine foreign insurrection happening on your hands. Like, you have to do something. And so when asked, do people agree with Trump deploying the National Guard so a bunch of Mexicans and communists don't burn down Los Angeles? And one of it used to be one of America's jewel cities, like San Francisco and Los Angeles. When I was growing up, these were places that were sort of almost in myth and legend. They were, weren't they?
They were. You'd see the cars coming down, but Dirty Harry pulling out.
Exactly, the movies came from here, and the weather was always beautiful, the people were beautiful.
And it's a shock when you go there.
It's
atrocious. I got there. It's a huge shock.
Absolutely.
The nice parts are actually those away from the cities.
Absolutely.
Again. I had some lovely places where you went and got great wines, the vineyards out there, but they're filled with like real Americans. People are there, not like the city.
Not hyphened Americans.
Yeah.
Again,
not Mexican Americans, where I'm Mexico first.
No,
it shouldn't be controversial to say this, and yet what we're saying is a controversial statement, right? But anyway, nearly 2/3 of Americans are like, yes, do something about the Mexicans rampaging around Los Angeles. But that was one poll. YouGov did a poll, and apparently 45% of people are like, no, I love Mexicans rampaging around Mexico and trying to flip the state to Mexico. I mean, like, for anyone who doesn't know, this is what happened. This is how Texas ended up joining the United States. Right. Basically, the Mexicans were like, okay, we've got a giant empty territory. We'll accept some Anglo immigrants into it, and they accepted something like 200,000 or something like that. And then they were like, yeah, we don't want to be part of Mexico because we're not Mexicans, and therefore they revolted. They had an independent republic for about 10 years, and then they joined the United States.
I wonder what would have happened if Trump said, okay, have California. I'm going to close off the border, by the way, and it's done. You're a done deal now. Get into Mexico. How quickly would all those companies that are there
go to hell?
Shift from there, because they know that the cartels are coming, the gangsters are going to control them, and all the nice holiday resorts and houses that they might have picked up over years will disappear to when Mr. Pueblo turns around and says, it is my house.
It would be very, very quickly, but I'm very tired of the sort of mindset of retreat.
No, I'm using it as a sense.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying it's you, but no, go and annex a couple of Mexican border towns and then expel the occupants or something. I don't know. like teach them a lesson is my opinion. But the point is, even then, 38% approve, 45% disapprove, 17% not sure. We'll take silence as consent, and so most approve. But the point that I find really interesting about this is Newsom has basically taken ownership of all of the Mexicans in California, right? I mean, look at what he says here, right? California will keep fighting on behalf of all our people, including in the courts. Right, so the Mexicans who are like, Viva la Mexico, California is Mexican soil. Gavin Newsom's like, yeah, they're our people. It's like, so what, are you going to join Mexico? Like, what do you think the options are here? Like, this is ridiculous. And then just screaming that Trump's a dictator, even though he obviously isn't a dictator.
Clearly not.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, okay, what's the plan, Gavin? Right? Saying, oh, this is un-American. Sorry, deploying the Marines to stop a Mexican incursion into America actually is pretty traditional for Americans.
Yeah,
actually.
It's got precedent.
It's got precedent. It's how you ended up with California in the first place. But saying, "Oh, these are our people," it's un-American. It's like, but the thing is this not un-American? is standing on top of a burning police car waving a Mexican flag, not an American, to Gavin Newsom. This is what he's in defense of. And it's like, sorry, do you think this guy thinks of himself as an American, or do you think he thinks of himself as a colonizer? He is there to take Mexican territory, and Gavin Newsom can sit there and whine, oh, arrest me all you want, but that's the deal. And I guess I'll just finish this one on Douglas Mackey has been looking into the legal situation here. It is possible for anyone who's been participating in an insurrection or rebellion to have their citizenship revoked. So if Trump were to have it done through the courts that actually this happy chappy here is actually not an American, is actually someone who's engaged in an insurrection here, which, I mean, it kind of looks like it to me. Like, yes, we're rejecting the state authority of the police and waving a Mexican flag as if this is claimed territory. I mean, I don't think it's the weakest argument I've ever heard for what an insurrection could actually be. Well, what you can do is get them denaturalized, and once they're denaturalized, you could deport them. So there is actually a legal route by which this could all be done, and the Mexican population of California could just be sent home, which is where really they belong, isn't it? I mean, it is in their hearts anyway. So anyway, absolutely crazy, and I don't think this is going to be the end of it or anything like that. But these are the fractures that are being dealt with here, right? That you have a large population of foreign people who understand themselves to be foreign, are not in any way interested in becoming Americans, but are instead very interested in reclaiming your territory where you've allowed them to live for Mexico. And it's like, okay, you're going to have to deal with that, right? You're going to have to deal with that at some point, or you'll end up with the Texas situation on your hands.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.